Welcome everybody to the first ever episode of the TriPod, aka the Pod, aka the Pod to the Power of 3, aka, well, just me talking to myself for about an hour because I don't think anyone else is willing to listen to me for an hour except for me. So, yeah. This, as I said, is the first ever episode that I will air of the podcast. So I apologize for the shitty quality, the shitty sound, and the shitty conversation. But you know what? I decided, fuck it. I'm going to start a podcast where I review movies or series or anything in the entertainment industry, as generally speaking, I tend to have a lot to say about things that I consume, such as film and cinema. And I think my friends and my partner is just about had it to listen to me for about an hour and a half rambling on. Because something that I did realize is that I do love talking about film, but I mostly enjoy just expressing my own opinion about film and not necessarily hearing their opinion about film. So this is also on the recommendation of the said friends and people that I generally talk to. And I've been wanting to do this for a few years now. And I just decided, you know what? Fuck it. I am going to start. I would have started this with The Beekeeper, and that's actually episode 0. I did a full kind of test pilot episode, so to speak. It went quite well, as I continue to realize that the only thing I love more than cinema is the sound of my own voice. So yeah, then I decided, well, let's do it on Monkey Man, and then that didn't work out, which would have been a nice movie to start off on. And now I am starting today's episode and the official series with The Fall Guy, which we'll get to in a moment. So yeah, I am your host, Stan, or aka Stan, aka Stan to the Power of 3, aka StanCubed. As you can see, my name and the podcast tends to follow the very obvious theme of self-indulgence and me basically just licking my own balls. Like, but you know, if I'm going to start a podcast where I just talk to myself for about an hour and a half, it's only fitting that the name and the subsequent, I want to say, deviations of the entertainment things that I do also just revolve around, you know, me. So this is the most self-serving thing that you will ever see. I'm even celebrating the start of this podcast with one of my favorite beers, which that's the sound of me clicking on the beer, and that's the sound of me taking a sip of a good old Guinness Draft Stout. And this episode is not sponsored. This podcast is not sponsored by Guinness, by the way. This podcast is probably more so sponsored by my continuous self-loathing and fear of failure, which is what prevented me from doing this sooner. So, cheers to that. Anyway, so, yeah, welcome everybody. I hope you're going to enjoy this as much as I do, because I know I'm going to enjoy just rambling on. I'm pretty sure I'm about 5 minutes in and I've said absolutely nothing about anything that I'm going to do. But to be fair, I was inspired by podcasts such as the Monday Morning Podcast by Bill Burr. You know, I thought, you know, if a professional comedian who's been doing it for, 15, 20 years can do it, surely me with absolutely no experience other than the fact that I just have a tendency to talk and not give others a chance to interrupt should be able to do it too. So shout out Bill Burr for making this happen. Also, again, this podcast is not sponsored by old William Burr, but this is just my attempt to have something to do. Well, also to use this as an excuse, I suppose, to talk about the things that I enjoy, because I think it's a good point in my life now to stop boring the people around me, or not boring, just wasting their time, I think. Because again, as I said, like, I tend to talk to them and I can see they want to give their opinion, but to me it's more important just getting my opinion of the film out, which is ironic, because in general, when I have conversation with people, I think I always talk to people with the intention of getting their opinion on things, but as soon as it comes to film or entertainment or a movie or series, whatever, I just don't stop. I really don't. And I suppose you as my audience, you know, that one listener that's listening to me, which is probably me listening to it back, so that I at least have one listener on any platform. Good luck suffering through this with me. But yeah, I think let's kick it off. I think I needed to. I was kind of thinking to myself, like, how would I approach a podcast like this? And I suppose the best way to do so is to break it up in segments. I have nothing official as of yet. I mean, I don't even have my full socials yet, which I'll get to at the end of this podcast. That is not even set up yet. I don't even have a logo set up yet. I've got an idea for one. I've only got a podcast name, and I've only got opinions, and I've got about an hour and a half to kill. So here's to that, you know? So, I think the first thing that I will start off with is standout news of the week. Yes, that is another pun on my name, because if it's not about me, I don't want it, and I don't care. You know, this is my podcast. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I think that's the beauty of this. I don't know why I was so scared to start this. It's pretty cool to think that I can do literally whatever I want as long as I don't break any guidelines. So here's to hoping I don't do that, which it probably won't last very long. Ironically, the Instagram account I created for this podcast immediately got removed for breaking terms of use. So if the one person listening to this knows how I can appeal that, that would be great, because my email that I created for this podcast is tied to that Instagram account that has now been removed. And I have no idea why. I literally just created it, and then it said I violated the terms of use, and it disabled it. So thank you, Instagram. Thank you, Zuckerberg. All right, standout news of the week. And the pun there is obviously the Stan in the standout, because, right. Man, it's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid. Anyway, the first thing I think I would like to talk about is the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, which is old news by now, but the full trailer got released recently. And I've got some opinions. I am going to be honest with you, I am quite excited about the fact that this is the only Marvel movie that is being released this year. Official MCU movie, I will say at that. Madame Web does not count. We're not even going to fucking talk about that movie. I'll probably end up making a video about this movie on my animation channel, which is called Stanimation on YouTube, by the way. What an abomination. Okay, so official MCU movie that was released this year, or will be released this year, is Deadpool and Wolverine, which I think is sometime in July. I don't know officially, because if there's something that you can rely on is the fact that I do not do my research, so I just talk. But the trailer seemed pretty good. It looks fun. It looks like a nice, I think, breath of fresh air in the midst of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that have been released as of late. I think there's a lot of, Marvel fatigue. I think we can see that all around. There is a bit of a decline in fan engagement, and I mean general public engagement with Marvel movies and superhero movies in general, and I completely get it. I've been a Marvel fan since I can remember, and I remember watching, The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man in cinema when I was a kid, and I think it peaked at Endgame, and obviously since then it's been very difficult for the movies to kind of live up to the expectations that the previous stuff had created, and everything was this culmination towards Endgame, and Endgame even having that name implying the end of the MCU as we know it was not lightly taken, I think, by general audiences, and I just personally think it's a good move from Marvel to only release one movie this year. I know it's also surrounded by a lot of delays in writing and pushbacks on movies because of, some writing issues. That was also kind of pushed because of, the strikes that happened recently. So, it's no surprise, but I think it's a blessing in disguise. Because I think Deadpool, what it's going to do is, it's something fresh because it's bringing Deadpool from Fox over to Marvel, which is a great introduction and, definitive introduction of the Fox catalog into the MCU. And it's an established character that is coming back, that people seem to enjoy, that is outside of the MCU, so it's not touching directly on the MCU stories as of late. And then obviously the nostalgic factor of people wanting to see Wolverine, Hugh Jackman back on screen, I think this is the perfect move from Marvel in the midst of the fatigue to kind of get your general audiences back into it. Because general audiences are going to lean into Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds being together. The marketing has been great up until now. So far, based on the trailer, the movie does seem fun. It seems fast-paced. It seems to be something that's got a little bit of depth, but doesn't take itself too seriously as a Deadpool movie should. I mean, it's probably going to be very reference-heavy, which I think a lot of people are also tired of, understandably so. But Deadpool being probably one of the characters where a reference-heavy, fourth wall breaking trope is more so welcomed. People expect it from the character, and I think it's going to do fine. I think it's a smart move, and I think it gives Marvel the opportunity to also fill it with some cameos and potential setups or foreshadowing for storylines to kind of see what audiences react to best online. This is just my theory, that maybe this is a way for Marvel to kind of throw a few things at the wall, see what sticks, and then they know where to go from here. I hope that's what they do, because that would be fucking great. And then also, if they've got cameos for casting of characters that people have kind of cast on the internet, they can also kind of see what people react to best. Like recasting someone like Logan or Wolverine would be a very difficult task because people are so attached to Hugh Jackman. So it's a very good idea to start doing that and throwing in those fan casts to see what people lean towards. I think it's a great way to have like a litmus test on things. But generally, Marvel has been more hit than miss in terms of casting choices. So I don't have any doubt on that. The only thing that I think is my concern that I saw in the trailer quite a bit of, something that I did not like so much in Deadpool 2, is it seems like because the characters rated R, maybe, I don't know if it's Ryan Reynolds himself or whether it is maybe the studios or whomever is writing for these, properties, seem to have taken away that what makes them funny is the amount of profanity and swearing and making as many gross references as possible. If it's in line with the character, fine. If it's in line with the storytelling, fine. But even in the trailer, one or two moments where either Hugh Jackman or Ryan Reynolds was swearing or using profanity, it kind of just didn't sit 100% right with me, if that makes sense. It just felt a little bit forced here and there. I'm just hoping that's not the case. Not every character has to swear every 2 minutes to make it funny. I've always had the idea in comedy that if you need to swear to make something funny, that's kind of like a hack. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I really do. There are ways to be funny without having to, point at your balls or just say fuck in between every second word. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited for that too. So yeah, that was the first bit of news for the week. It's just me wanting to talk about that trailer. I'm not going to talk about the potential spoilers indicated in that trailer, because if I'm being honest, I'm the type of person that would watch one trailer of the first trailer of a film, and then I don't want to see anything else because I don't want to know who's potentially going to cameo in that. If I do this podcast, if you're looking for someone who's going to tell you about who's potentially cast in this role or who's potentially going to cameo, that's not going to be me. Maybe casting choices, I will, but potential cameo spoilers, I will never discuss because I don't want to know either, as that kind of takes away a little bit of the fun for me in the movies themselves. So the second thing, I just need to check here my notes. Yes, I made notes. So professional, is it not? So professional for an amateur, as the sound sounds absolutely terrible. Right, the second thing I wanted to talk about is I was at the Cape Town Comic Con this weekend. I was there Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I had a 5-day pass. I was supposed to be there today too, but I slept most of my day as I have been on leave from work. I needed a rest. I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't go for today either, but I'm going back tomorrow again. On Saturday, I did cosplay. It was quite fun. And I just wanted to shout out Cape Town Comic Con. It was a blast. It was so, Saturday and Sunday was so packed. I think I just wanted to just shine a little bit of a spotlight on the Cape Town Comic Con. It was such a great experience. It was such a wholesome experience, and I think that's the word that I was looking for in my head, because Comic Con is still something new that is growing in South Africa and in Cape Town. It started as a fan con years ago, and it has only grown since then. And then COVID happened, which really knocked it down a peg. But in the peak of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the age of superheroes and comics booming, that's what started it in South Africa, or started to make it big. But even now that, the superhero movies are in a bit of a dip, the Comic Con is bigger than ever, and it is so great. The people are so friendly and so excited, and it's such fun to be a part of it. And I just wanted to shine some light on that. And it was pretty cool. There was quite a few celebrities that showed up for panels. There was Lucifer, Leslie Ann Brunt was there. From Lucifer, Veronica Taylor, Pokemon, Ash Ketchum was there with a panel. Sean Gunn made an appearance, which was quite cool. I sat in on a few of his panels over the course of a few days. He was very sweet. He was very friendly. He actually did drop a few hints regarding the upcoming Justice League Superman movie with James Gunn. He did say that unfortunately he cannot open up much about that, but it was quite fascinating to hear him talk a little bit about the upcoming projects and the secrecy behind it and the excitement that he has for it. But according to him, James Gunn does have quite a lot of amazing things prepared for it. And I think one of the things that he did say, which I really liked, is that James Gunn is definitely leaning in towards the comic book aspects thereof. Trying to make it seem like a real comic book universe being put onto screen instead of it being a universe that is just too grounded in reality, which I think DC Comics have been kind of thirsting for. It's something that they were grasping at and lacking a little bit. And we can see that in Peacemaker. I think Peacemaker is very comic booky in many ways, and I really like that, and the Suicide Squad as well. So I'm hoping that, this, when it comes to screen, will be what we all expect it to be. And I'm very excited for that. And then also we had some of the cast for the live action One Piece was there, which is really dope. They were all so sweet and so friendly, and the crowd was hyped. That was really fun. We also had some of the cast for Boy Kills World that was there. There was actually a stunt team that did quite a few stunts to promote Boy Kills World at our Comic Con, and it was kind of like the film premiere at the Cape Town Comic Con, and that's actually the next movie that I will be watching, hopefully this coming weekend, which will likely be the movie that I review next, or at least that's what I promised Sharlto Copley. So it was Andrew Koji and Sharlto Copley that was on the panel, and it was, South Africa, Pretoria's own Afrikaans man of tomorrow, Sharlto Copley, was there. It was actually quite funny. They had their little panel, and this was Saturday while I was cosplaying. I cosplayed as the Crow, and 1994 Brandon Lee's the Crow, and they had a little bit of a poster signing where you could stand in a queue and then get the Boy Kills World poster signed, and I was standing in queue, and I told my partner that I just want to chat with them. I don't necessarily want a signed poster. I'm not necessarily one for like selfies or pictures with celebrities or autographs, maybe here and there. But, I just wanted to have a conversation. I wanted to speak to Andrew Koji about, all the action sequences he's done over the years, and him actually working on Bullet Train, because I thought his role in Bullet Train was amazing, and I just had so many questions for him, and I stood in queue, and as I got in front, they handed me a poster, and I was so caught off guard because I didn't want a poster, but I didn't want to be rude because I don't want to interrupt anyone. And then Andrew Koji just looked at me and he was like, "Whoa, the crow." And I was like, "Thanks, man." And then I didn't know what to say to him because he was kind of like away from me. And then someone started talking to him. And I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to bother him." So I told my partner, "Okay, fine, I'll move over to the side and I'll just go I'll try and talk to Sharlto." And as I go to the side and I'm waiting and I'm talking to her, Sharlto Copley just kind of like stands next to me and just starts a conversation with me. And I realized he also likes talking quite a bit. And we just started shooting the shit, if I'm being honest with you. He started talking to me about how big the Comic Con is, and he asked me about the history of it, and I told him about FanCon and what it was, and he's like, "Man, it's amazing, and the people are amazing, and everyone's so psyched," and he's like, it fucking amped him up. He wants to come back, and he wants to come back as a fan, and I told him he should come around, and then I'll see him around, and we had a great conversation. I spoke to him about Monkey Man because that's actually a movie that I watched recently because I wanted to review that, and congratulated him on that because he's really, I mean, Monkey Man and now Boy Kills World. He's doing back to back, and Monkey Man was not supposed to go to cinema. It was actually a direct to streaming movie, and then I asked Sharlto about that, and he's like, "Yeah, Netflix was kind of." They didn't believe in the product. They were kind of shutting it down a bit, and we spoke about Jordan Peele and the fact that Jordan Peele saw it and picked it up and wanted to get it to cinema, and how they all were so stressed because they were so proud of that film. And he talked about how Dev Patel really put his heart and soul into that, and they got such great reviews and feedback on that film, and then it got shelved by Netflix essentially. And he's like, he was swearing quite a lot, but he's like, "We had absolutely no fucking idea what to do, and Netflix didn't give a fuck, and they left us in the dark." And then it got picked up, and I'm really happy for him. He seemed really proud of that, and it was quite fun just talking about that and having a back and forth about that. And it was good. It was a good conversation. I told him that I briefly mentioned the podcast, and I said that I wanted to review this film, and he's like, "Dude, you'll love it. Please, please, please do go watch it. Tell people about it." So that is next on my list, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the Cape Town Comic Con. I will be there again tomorrow, and yeah, I'll probably mention one or two things from there at the end of this podcast because I'm quite far in. But for now, let's get into the movie of the day, which is The Fall Guy. All right. So The Fall Guy, out in theaters right now, directed by David Leitch, starring Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Hannah Waddingham, Teresa Palmer, Winston Duke. It's just, man, yeah, right, what a cast. Okay, it came out with a budget, let me just check my notes here, of $125 million. And thus far, I tried to check what it had made opening weekend, but I'm struggling to find figures on it, if I'm being honest with you. I had no figures for the domestic box office, but internationally it made about $8.7 million over the weekend. But the projected opening, I think, according to Collider, is $35 million for the weekend, which is not a bad opening, but for a budget of $125 million, it's quite an expensive movie, I suppose. Off the back of Barbie and Oppenheimer, both Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, draw quite a bit in. Although, I mean, this is probably shot around that same time, but still, like, I'm hoping with their names attached to it, it does pull quite a bit, because this movie, as we all know, was created as kind of like a love letter to the unsung heroes of a lot of films, which are the stuntmen. And just something, it's like a little factoid about the movie that I thought I would discuss, which I think is really cool, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this before, is that during the filming of this, they did a cannon roll with a car, which is where you basically flip the car and roll it as part of a stunt sequence, and broke the record for the most amount of rolls in a single cannon roll, which was 8.5, which I believe the record was previously held by Casino Royale, which is also a very gnarly car role. I do remember though in that movie they cut so much in, because I saw Casino Royale in cinema. They cut the role quite a bit, which kind of took away from it a little bit. But I felt like in The Fall Guy, seeing as this movie is a love letter to stuntmen, they really let that a moment shine. And I just want to shout out, or give a shout out to the person that performed that stunt, which is Logan Holiday, who now holds the record for the most cannon rolls filmed in a movie. 8.5 cannon rolls. Very gnarly. I've seen the behind the scenes footage of it. That is crazy, and it's ironic because I think Logan Holiday is actually one of the people that in the movie pulls Ryan Gosling, his character, out of the vehicle and congratulates him on the stunt, because in the movie they mention the fact that this is a world record roll. So that's pretty cool. And I just wanted to take a moment to kind of highlight that. I believe it is Hannah Weddingham's character Gail, who she plays a producer, that mentions the fact that it's a record cannon roll. So anyway, so the synopsis of the film, the story, let's try and get this story right. I'm just gonna kind of give an idea of what it was. Maybe I should I read the synopsis, or should I just do this off the top of my head? This is obviously first going to be the non-spoiler part of the review. So non-spoiler wise, let's see if I can get the story right. So Ryan Gosling plays Colt Seavers, a stuntman, who is the stuntman for Aaron Taylor Johnson's character in the movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson plays Tom Ryder, the biggest film star in the world, or so to speak. Which I just thought was maybe like a play on Tom Cruise, which would be ironic because Tom Cruise is the biggest movie star for a long time, but he does his own stunts. Yet they name drop Tom Cruise quite a few times in the movie, so that's kind of funny. Yeah, so Ryan Gosling plays Colt Seavers, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character's stuntman, and basically the movie starts, or the premise of the movie is that he was a stuntman who got into a horrific accident while performing a stunt during the filming of a movie. He basically broke his back, and then he went missing for a while, about 1.5 years, 18 months after the accident, and stopped performing stunts. And he was probably one of the best stuntmen in the world. And he was in a fling, or a romantic relationship, with Emily Blunt's character, Jodie Marino, who was a camera operator in the film. And as I mentioned, Gail Mayer, or Hannah Whittingham's character, Gail, being the producer on that film. And she usually works hand in hand with Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. So Ryan Gosling's character, Colt Seavers, kind of disappears from the world for 1.5 years while he was recovering, but then also kind of ghosted Emily Blunt's character, so their romance had passed. And then he basically gets pulled back into a movie when Emily Blunt's character is now directing. She landed herself a directorial role to create a movie called Metal Storm, or Metal something. I would have to actually check because it was such a stupid name. Metal Storm, which is a movie about an alien being in love with a space cowboy, essentially. Which Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Tom Ryder, is the main actor in, and he goes missing, and Ryan Gosling's character basically gets asked to find him and locate him. So that's the premise, right? Because you need your star to finish the movie of her first movie, Emily Blunt's first movie, Metal Storm. Right, non-spoiler. Okay, so, the cinematography in this film is awesome. I think the cinematography is great. There are so many great shots, and there are so many things that they do with the camera. I'm hoping this is not spoiler heavy, but there is a scene in this movie where Ryan Gosling's character is on the phone with Emily Blunt's character, and they are basically having a conversation on split screen, and she is trying to figure out something about camera work in a film, and she says to Ryan Gosling she wants to use split screens. It's a bit of a fourth wall breaking moment. But, the split screen has contrasting moments where they both seem to be doing similar things and in similar visuals as they sit and walk and move. With Emily Blunt's camera being lit up quite a bit. She's in a much more lit room, and Ryan Gosling's character is in a much more somber tone room, which I really liked. But that whole scene, even though it was very close to breaking the fourth wall a little bit too much, I really enjoyed. It was a really great shot scene. But what I will say is the stunt work. Obviously, because this is a love letter to stunt movies, stunt performers, holy shit, they nail it. The falls are brutal. The camera stays on the action sequences. It lets you feel the impact and the scope and the scale of the stunts, which a lot of movies tend to cut so much out and cut around the stunts so much that you tend to lose the impact or the scale or the scope of it. I think one of the biggest examples of where this happens is like in Mission Impossible. I can't remember which Mission Impossible 6. The one where Henry Cavill cocks his arms to fight. There's a scene where Tom Cruise skydives for real. And in the scene, they like kind of him and Henry Cavill's character fight in the air, I believe. And they add CGI clouds and a thunderstorm to it and change it to night, but it was filmed kind of, I think, at dawn. I can't remember, but it was more lit. So you've got this scene where there's a real sequence happening, but you miss out on all the impact. And it's over edited, and it just you could have shot that on a green screen and I wouldn't have known better. And I think that's a problem with a lot of big blockbusters, is the directors tend to cut around these stunts. But if you're obviously recording a movie or creating a movie with the idea to highlight stunt work, what you should do is make sure that your cinematography really lays into the scope of the stunts, and they do that so well in here. There's maybe one stunt that they do where they are Ryan Gosling's character is having like a fist fight with a guy in like a container that's hooked to a vehicle as a truck as they're driving. And some of the camera work does seem a bit fake in that, like it seems a bit CGI. But at the end of the film, they show you behind the scenes footage, and instead of it being bloopers, it shows you the behind the scenes of the actual stunts. And they actually did that. And I was a bit disappointed. That's the only moment in the movie where I felt like the stunt was kind of presented in an underwhelming fashion. Also, if you hear my chair while I record, just to give you an idea, my setup right now is a microphone that is in a laundry basket as I sit in my pajamas on a second-hand shitty office chair that squeaks and makes a bunch of noise. But anyway, that's the only shot in the film that really kind of, I think, took away from the stunt, because that was a really dangerous stunt to perform. Some of the shots does do it justice, but here and there it did seem a bit CGI, which is so disappointing because it's such a good stunt. But the falls that they do, there are some brutal falls, and it's so creative in the way that they set it up, because Ryan Gosling's character is a stuntman. At one point, he even prepares for a fight that he's going to have with someone, because he knew he's potentially going to throw himself off a balcony. So he set up a couch to be his fall mat. And you see at the behind of the scenes shot at the end of the film, which is like their little after credit scene, you see that is actually what they do. He actually falls on a couch, and the other stunt performer is padded and falls on the ground. And it's so beautifully done. It's so the action sequences are so it is. If you are looking for something that is fast paced, this is definitely for you. It leans a lot into the action, and I think it really does do what it intended to do, which is give a highlight to the stunt performance. Obviously, David Leitch also directed Bullet Train, which is another movie where I thought stunt work was really like highlighted, and action was done so beautifully with his cinematography. I think David Leitch's cinematography and whoever is helping him with his cinematography, I can actually check that up. Jonathan Sela, Sela. They know what they're doing. They know how to set these shots up. And there's very, very few shots in this film that felt like generic shots. It was done really, really well, and I really enjoyed that. I think one of my favorite scenes was there was a fight scene where Ryan Gosling's character, for a reason, gets high, and he has a fight in a club where they obviously do the special effects of him being high, and he's tripping and he's seeing things. But the fight scene in that is so stylized, and I love that. I love that they took chances to stylize certain scenes and make it feel like certain things. It was great. It was so good. It was a really fun fight, and it obviously highlights Ryan Gosling's comedic chops, which I've always said was very underrated. If you guys have not seen The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, I would 1000% recommend that. It really highlights his comedic acting and his comedic chops and his timing. And I mean, if you've ever seen him on SNL, especially the Papyrus skit, where he's obsessed with Avatar's logo just being the Papyrus font. Ryan Gosling, his comedic timing is great. He understands comedy, and it is highlighted in this film. I think it's a little bit underutilized, just slightly, but it is really good. And I don't want to take any shine away from any of the other actors. I thought Winston Duke's character was very fun, which is like a stunt coordinator on the film Metal Storm and friends with Ryan Gosling. I think him and Gosling had quite good back and forth. There was even a stunt dog present, which is a really nice addition to the film. I like the way that the dog was utilized, which I'll get into maybe in spoilers a little bit. Yeah, I think Aaron Taylor-Johnson really plays a diva actor quite well, surprisingly well. Yeah, I thought everyone was good, right? Like, all around. I thought Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling had pretty decent chemistry. It did feel a bit more like friends more so than lovers, but like they had a pretty good back and forth, but she was she was good. Because she was kind of, I think, the heart of the film, and I really think she did a great job with what she was presented, and she really brought a little bit more emotion, and I want to say that consistent emotional feeling into the film. And she really did that really well. I've always enjoyed Emily Blunt. I just wish they maybe gave her a little bit more shine in like a comedic sense, because I think, again, she's underutilized in terms of her comedic chops. The pacing also is great. The pacing of the movie is really great. I don't think the movie's runtime is that long, because it felt quite quick. 126 minutes. Yeah, like it's less than an hour and a half, right? No, 90. No, wait. I am 2 hours runtime. That doesn't seem right. It felt so much less. But okay, that I suppose that is a positive for the film. Like I said, I think the only negative thing in the film is maybe that the comedy was underutilized with both Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. So, something I also did enjoy is the fact that the initial trailer did not reveal too much about the story. I think a lot of what you see in the trailer happens very early on in the movie. So they left a lot open for you to go in and see, and not all the stunts were just shown within the trailer, and the best action, sequences weren't displayed in the trailer, and, props to the marketing team for that. Then the Fall Guy name, which is maybe a bit of a spoiler, but where the movie's name comes from is the fact that Ryan Gosling's character in the beginning of the film is a parking attendant, because that's what he did after his accident. So he had long hair and a ponytail, which is very funny because it reminded me of his character in the sequel to the Papyrus sketch, which took me out for a second, but yeah, it was pretty great. He was a parking attendant, and a guy recognizes him as Tom Ryder, Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character's stuntman, and he refers to him as the Fall Guy because he's the guy who fell and had that accident, and people actually thought he was dead. But it was quite good. So that is my non-spoiler review of the film, because I want to get into spoilers. I think I will give my rating for the movie I'll give my rating for the movie at the non-spoiler section of it. I'm not going to give a rating now and then give a rating again at the end, because I think you can get the feel in my non-spoiler review, and then I'll do my official rating at the end of my review of non-spoilers. So now moving on into into spoilers. Sorry. Moving on into spoilers. Right. Okay. So the story is Ryan Gosling comes back, right? Emily Blunt's character is not aware of the fact that he gets asked back to be the stuntman in her movie Metal Storm. He gets pulled back by Gail, the producer. This is Hannah Weddingham's character, to save the movie because Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character, Tom Ryder, is missing. So he goes in. The first thing he does is the car roll, which is crazy, after he has some PTSD. And again, Ryan Gosling's comedic chops really shows here again, because at one point he's looking at the density of the sand when Winston Duke's character is trying to explain to him that this is the stunt that he's going to do. And I just thought that was really funny. The way he delivers his lines is really great. He's just, you know what? They should make Ryan Gosling play a slightly dumb person more often. And this is not a knock to him, it's just he does that really well. Even though in what's his name, is it Crazy Stupid Love? Is that the movie's name? With him and Steve Carell? Like, he needs to be a bit of an idiot. He's like a lovable idiot, and I think that's what he plays really well, because it does sometimes seem like there's nothing behind the eyes, and this is not an insult to Ryan Gosling, this is just, I'm giving him his props. He plays those type of characters really well. But anyway, so he comes back. Emily Blunt then sees him after the stunt, and she is upset that he is back there, because why is he there? Then eventually, because they've got this little lover's quarrel, because she feels like he just left her, and she wanted, to be there for him, and he just kind of cut her off and everybody else off. And then Gosling's character is obviously confused about the fact that she's not aware that he's there, because he was told that she specifically asked him, which is the only reason he came back. Anyway, turns out this was just a trick from Gail, the producer, to get him there. And he ends up doing the stunts, and him and Emily kind of have this weird, funny moment where the next scene they do is him being set on fire and being launched into a rock with a rig numerous times. It starts off first, and then Emily Blunt's character with the megaphone starts talking to him, and it's like, they need to recut, and he keeps doing the same cut over and over so that she can kind of punish him, which is really funny to see. It's a very awkward scene, because she then starts asking him questions about the characters, because the characters in the film seem to have the same sort of a lover's spat than the two of them had in so-called real life. So she starts asking Ryan Gosling about what his character would say in response to the fact that he disappeared for so long and kind of left this woman, and she had moved on and been with numerous men, and they have this entire back and forth in front of the entire cast and crew, which I really thought was really funny, and I quite enjoyed that. And it gave, I don't know, it was a good, that was like a moment where it showed Emily Blunt's comedic chops quite a bit more. And I had quite a bit of fun with that. Then, they kind of make up a little bit, because Gosling does give her the answers she needs. And there's like a little montage of them shooting a bunch of scenes, and you kind of see what it looks like when people actually film action sequences, and it's a really cool scene that I think they included into the film. But then, of course, Gosling's character gets pulled off the project again by the producer to then go find Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character. And this is where the film starts to take a bit of a twist, because Gosling then gets sent to Aaron Taylor-Johnson's house, which one of his weird character traits for Tom Ryder is that he has post-it notes everywhere, which is a shit ton of post-it notes around his house, which I thought was a pretty funny little inclusion as a character trait. And he's trying to find, some information. He just thought he was sitting there and being a diva, and then he finds the house empty, and then a random woman starts attacking him. Very cool action sequence inside the house. Turns out to be Aaron Taylor-Johnson's girlfriend, who's also an actress, and she gives him some information as to where to go, which is like a club that he usually hangs out in, or where his drug dealer is. And Gosling goes there, and the drug dealer then basically gives him a drink, and this is what makes him high. And he does the high fighting sequence, which is really cool. And he does chase down the drug dealer, who then runs away after Gosling beats up all his security in the club, which is a really, really cool fight scene. It's really well done. I like the stylized shots. It was like I said, it's probably my favorite fight scene in the film, and I thought was a really cool a really cool touch in the sequence is that when Gosling chases down the drug dealer, he cuts him off through basically running through a shortcut. Does a really cool pratfall down like a little hill, like a grass hill, and then he's standing behind like one of those bus stops with the billboards on, and the drug dealer had climbed into a taxi and told him to drive. So Gosling knew he was going to have to somehow stop the car, so he thought, okay, well, let me just jump in front of the car, right? But then he takes out a mouth guard, a gum guard, puts it in, and then he does the run in front of the car so the taxi driver stops, and that's how he gets a hold of the drug dealer. And even after that, he puts a thumbs up, which is a key point, a key aspect in this film, is that Ryan Gosling's character always gives a thumbs up after, like any stuntman does, after they do a fall to indicate that they're good, right? Anyway, I thought that was a really cool touch that he put the mouth guard in, and he's a stuntman, so he knows how to fall, and he knows how to take the impact, and I think that's really cool. So a lot of the action sequences really lean into the fact that this dude is aware of how to do these things to not prevent himself from getting hurt, but to make it hurt as little as possible. And a lot of the action sequences are driven by his knowledge of stunts that he either has done or, knows how to do, or can think about how he would utilize his stunt work in it. And what was quite funny is he asked the drug dealer when does this end? And the drug dealer, the trip, the hallucinations, and the drug dealer says, well, as soon as you stop seeing unicorns. And there's a cute little comedic touch in it where, Ryan Gosling's character is continuously followed by a unicorn for quite a bit after that, which I thought was pretty funny. It was well played. It wasn't overutilized. And yeah, so I don't want to go through the story beat by beat, but essentially what we find out after Gosling gets a phone, which he's told has all the information on, because this dude apparently was very concerned about his phone. His assistant gave Gosling the phone, and this is where Gosling got the stunt dog, because she was walking one of the stunt dogs, which is Aaron Taylor's dog. People start chasing them down to attain this phone, because apparently this phone's very important, and they don't know why, but apparently there's something on there that is very, very important to Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. And this is where a chase scene ensues. Very cool. The dog does some really cool shit. It's one of its commands is to bite a guy in his balls, basically. But still, the way that dog's utilized, there's a very cute relationship between Ryan Gosling and the dog, because he knows all the commands, because he's worked with the dog on set before. The dog only responds to French. It was just really cool. It was they really went out of their way to find unique ways to work stunt performers and stunt aspects of stunt work into the film, to really highlight as much as possible. And that I really, really enjoyed. And I'll give them much props for that. Anyway, the twist in the movie is Gosling eventually finds a dead body in a bathtub on ice, which he recognizes as a stuntman that was the replacement stuntman of his, that took over as Aaron Taylor Johnson's stuntman. And he was dead with a wound to the head. Eventually, him and Winston Duke, because he tells Winston Duke about what's going on, they watch the videos on the phone and then find out that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, for some reason, did a spinning back kick, or just a kick to his stuntman, and a stuntman fell at a party in a hotel room and bashed his head against a table and died. So that's why his character has been missing. It's because he accidentally killed his new stuntman. So that is something that is there, and that's how that kind of is the catalyst for a lot of the action, or it sets up everything that happens in the film. And eventually Gosling finds out the people that are chasing him are actually Aaron Taylor Johnson's people, trying to get that phone back, because he was trying to lay low as long as possible to obviously avoid getting caught, because he accidentally murdered his stuntman, which would put his career, it would ruin his career. And the big twist is that Hannah Weddingham, the producer that obviously is, I suppose, the agent for Aaron Taylor Johnson too, was trying to cover up the murder by pinning it on Ryan Gosling's character. And in the film, they do set up a lot of this. They set up the fact that they 3D scanned Gosling's face as part of the film, which is like, deep fake, essentially, capabilities. And that's where the Tom Cruise reference comes in, because Gosling's character does ask them to deep fake Tom Cruise's face on him and send it to him, which is quite funny. But yeah, they plan to use that footage, manipulate Gosling's face onto it, and then, frame him for it, so that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character does not take the fall for, ironically, the fall for it. Instead, Gosling's character takes the fall for it. Get it? The fall guy. That's where the name also comes in. So then Gosling's character gets taken to a dock at a harbor, and this is where Aaron Taylor Johnson's character basically does like a little James Bond dialogue speech monologue to him, which again Gosling does point out, and it's really funny. I enjoy the fact that they do kind of reference a lot of movie tropes and stuff like that. I mean, there's a running joke between Gosling and Winston Duke's character where they both or Winston Duke would quote something from a movie, and then Gosling would basically yell the movie titles, like a little game that I suppose that they used to play. It just shows that they've got an established relationship, which they've had for a while, and they have a little cute, like, cool back and forth on that. So yeah, that's one of the things that I really enjoyed. And again, they utilize the fact his knowledge with stunts quite a bit. One of the ways that he escapes being tied up by Aaron Taylor Johnson's people is that they douse him in gasoline, and he's yelling help, and then to quiet him, they douse some of that into his mouth. And then as they light the lighter to basically set him aflame, he spits the gas out, the gasoline out, like one would who has worked with gasoline before to create like a nice little flamethrower effect. And he basically spits flame at one of the henchmen, which I thought was really clever. And then he, earlier in the movie, referenced that he's done a boat jump sequence through explosives so many times, I think from Miami Vice, and he has actually a Miami Vice jacket that he wears throughout the movie, because I think it's the first movie that he worked on, if I'm not mistaken. And then he does that. His hands are tied behind his back, and he drives a speedboat with his hands tied behind his back, and he does that entire sequence. So that's pretty cool. I really liked it. I really liked the heart in the movie. There's a monologue sequence where Gosling's character is talking to Emily Blunt's character over the phone, and he expresses that he made a mistake ignoring her, but he was scared and he felt like a failure because every time he gives the thumbs up, which I thought was a real nice touch, it's like they give the thumbs up, but it always hurts. Doing a stunt always hurts. They're never really okay. They just give the thumbs up because that's what they have to do. That is their job, and that is what they are trained to do. And yeah, I really like that because it showed this person who didn't know how to deal with the fact that he no longer is invincible or feels invincible, and that he could be hurt. And that was the first time that he couldn't really give a thumbs up because he didn't mean it. He was not okay. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool touch. There was some great action sequences at the end where they have a fight scene on the movie set, the film set for Emily Blunt's movie Metal Storm, and it's already set up with so much practical explosives and all that, and it's filled with stunt crews and everyone that knows how to work together in sync. So when they plan this thing and they take out some of the henchmen that start chasing Gosling while he's in a stunt vehicle because they think he's dead at this point, the stuntmen fight in their regular clothing, but it mimics what would look like a real battle sequence on a film, pre-production or pre-editing. And I thought that's so great. It was such a nice contrast, because earlier in the film you see what it looks like in post-production, because they show you the fight sequence being filmed, but with the effects and everything that you see through the camera, and then you see just a raw footage of people, film crew fighting and in their stunt clothing. It looks like a pre-production thing happening, and it was really cool. And the stunts are gnarly, the falls are gnarly. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And the penultimate scene is a sequence. Just let me pause here quickly. I just received a phone call there, so I just had to pause that for a moment. Anyway, where was I? Oh, the penultimate action sequence at the end is a stunt that's supposed to be performed where basically there's this massive vehicle jump that they need to do over like a 250-foot gap or something crazy like that. And Aaron Taylor Johnson's character does not like any stunts. He's a bit of a little bitch. And he plays that really well. He really does play that really well. And they have this whole plan where eventually Gosling gets into the car and then they force him to do the jump. And his character has a tendency to forget that he's mic'd up, so he ends up saying a bunch of dumb shit, which they do set up earlier in the movie. And they basically get him to confess to his crimes on that. And I thought it was really well done. That jump looked insane. They showed the landing. They showed everything. It was really cool. They utilized so much cool stuff. And I don't want to, even though it's a spoiler review, I don't want to give away everything. Because if there are some things that you want to see yourself, I would recommend it. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to... Oh, wait, the dialogue. The dialogue in this film I thought was really well done. And I feel like David Leitch does this really well, where it doesn't feel like people talking to each other in a movie. It feels like genuine conversations happening. A lot of these conversations do feel real. It does feel like how people would genuinely respond. And I thought that was really well presented and reflected in this film. And it's something that I always do look out for, because dialogue work can sometimes be shot quite shitty. And I just thought they did that quite well. And it was quite fun overall. And I can't forget this, last but not least, is that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character gets replaced by Jason Momoa, which is a surprise cameo at the end of the film. So the film basically, the Metal Storm film gets reshot, or at least Jason Momoa gets edited in as the main character. And I thought that was really funny, because they even showed on, I think one of Aaron Taylor Johnson's posters says, is it Momoa or Momoa? But I couldn't read it that quickly. Like, I was a bit distracted by what else was going on in the scene. So they kind of set that up too. And I think that's another thing this film does really well. It sets up a lot of the stuff that happens later in the movie quite well. It's not too shoehorned in. Some of it's a bit obvious. I mean, the twist is kind of obvious in a certain way. So, yeah, but I can't complain. I think this is a good movie to start off on. So I think I'm going to use my rating system that I have. Alright, sorry, I had to cut that off again. I was going to knock on my door, so it seems like I am very popular tonight. Anyway, so I didn't think of a rating system, or at least I was trying to figure out a rating system that I would give, and everyone always either says, you know, has a percentage rating, or star rating, or a 9 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10 rating, or whatever. So I think in the theme of making everything revolve around me and self-indulgence, and being as self-involved as possible, I am going to use the try rating. So basically, would I give this a try? Would I not? And how would I give it a try if I were you? And then there will be the penultimate rating, which is the try-star rating. That is a 3-star rating, which no other rating I will ever give will have a star. So that would be like my 10 out of 10 for a movie. So that being said, I think if you are someone who loves action, someone who loves stunt work, someone who loves really great physical action work and stunt work, and you want to have a bit of a laugh, I would say really give this a try. Give it a try in cinema. I think that's the takeaway I have, is I would give this a try in cinema, and I would definitely give this a try in IMAX. Now, if you are expecting the funniest film in the world, and you're expecting, you know, if you want something with a lot of depth, I would not give this a try. This is something that I would just give a try to have fun on it, but I would not give this a try on streaming. I think it would ruin or take away a lot from all the stunt work. So I think if you are someone who can go to the cinema, whether it's 2D, whether it's regular cinema, or whether it's IMAX, give this a try. I really think you need to see the scope of the stunt work. And again, if you like a movie like Bullet Train, I would definitely give this a try. So that is my rating. Give it a try in cinema. Alright, so now we'll move on to the next segment of the show, which is the last segment, which would be, which I would call side tangents. Which is, side tangents are just side tangents. I know it's so stupid, but, you know, this is my first attempt at this, and hopefully I'll get better as we move along. But anyway, side tangents is basically just going to cover other things that are side tangents I want to go on about things that I've either watched, read, seen, or heard of, or whatever throughout my week from episode to episode. I'm going to try and do an episode every week. Hopefully, eventually, I'll record this on a Sunday and then post it on a Monday, but for now, I am recording it on a Tuesday, and I'll probably post it on a Friday or Saturday. I haven't decided yet. But for reference, this is recorded on Tuesday, the 30th of April 2024. So there's your reference point. Alright, so I watched The Crow for the first time in full this past week in preparation for my cosplay at Comic-Con. And holy shit, why hadn't I seen it sooner? Brandon Lee's performance in this is really great. If you are someone that has not seen The Crow, I obviously also thought of it in preparation for the fact that Skarsgård's The Crow is also coming out, and a lot of people were outraged at it, at it. I did enjoy Brandon Lee's look of The Crow, and I knew that Heath Ledger's Joker, one of my favorite characters, I mean, every basic boy's favorite character, or comic book fan's favorite character. A lot of his look and his performance was based off of that, but I didn't know it was that much. I'll probably end up doing a solid video of The Crow. I'm not going to hold myself to that, but I would like to do a breakdown of it. But I realized how many comic book tropes and lines were actually inspired by this, because there was so much within that movie that I recognized. And I mean, it was so ahead of its time. The sequence where he walks into the room of villains sitting in a boardroom is almost shot for shot the same sequence that the Joker in The Dark Knight does, where he basically makes that pencil disappear. And it's crazy to me how much was taken from that. And I really think The Crow is an underrated movie. I'm surprised I haven't heard a lot more of it. But it was quite fun at Comic-Con while I was in the costume. I had a few interactions with people. I mean, I took about 50 photos that day with people, which was a really nice feeling to have. But I had a person actually come up to me and say that she actually got into comic books because of Eric Draven and the character of The Crow. And I almost felt like that's a moment I stole from the creators and maybe from Brandon Lee, who played the character in the first place. Because I obviously just cosplayed this character, but I had this really heartwarming moment with a fan of the character sharing it with me as if I some way, shape or form was involved with this. And I was like, it was a really great moment. It was a really wholesome moment, and I will always remember and cherish that. It was really great. And it was so nice to be able to share a picture with that person and have them really jot this moment down for themselves, and I could jot that down for me as a really great moment. And I hope to somehow find that photo somewhere online. But yeah, so I watched The Crow. If you haven't watched it, give it a go. It's not for the faint of heart. There's quite a few rough themes in there, but damn, it was so good. I mean, who was the person? Damn. Wait. Let me just quickly, The Crow. This is so professional. I am literally, quickly searching up The Crow. IMDb. I just want to see the cast because I'm being quite useless with the cast here. Come on. There we go. Ernie Hudson. Damn, I can't believe I blanked on his name. Ernie Hudson is so good in that movie. I think he is really, really great in that movie. But anyway, that's kind of just what I wanted to say is give The Crow a watch. I can see what the hype was about maybe back then. I'm surprised it's not spoken about even more. I think Brandon Lee's performance is super underrated and I think underappreciated in terms of the influence this character had over a lot of other characters. And I'm sure it had influence prior to that by a lot of characters because one of the running gags in the film is even the fact that the Crow keeps disappearing, which is a very similar trait to the Batman keep disappearing. But man, what a great comic book movie for its time. And even visually, it was stylized and it looked great. Like, how is that? I don't know. For people like for someone who's been in the comic book universe for such a long time and been involved with that sort of universe for so long, I'm just surprised how little I have heard about it because it's so great. It's so good. It's really it saddens me that it does not get more credit. I think it deserves a lot more credit. Do I think it's of its time? Yes. Do I think there's a lot of things that now would be seen as cliche? Yes. But this is the thing. I think the movie utilizes a lot of like tropes that are now viewed as cliche, but that was like kind of the start of it, and it wasn't too corny and too cheesy at the time. I think at the time that must have blown people's minds. I mean, I had people talk to me about at Comic Con about the fact that they still remember seeing it in cinema and it blew their minds. So I think The Crow was everything that people wanted Spawn, back then to be. So yeah, so that's the one thing. The second thing, I watched Monkey Man. Monkey Man, directed by Dev Patel, and being his directorial debut, I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender, M. Night Shyamalan, Avatar: The Last Airbender's very own Prince Zuko, Dev Patel. If you have not seen that movie, please go support it in cinema. Go watch it. It is, if you love John Wick, the movie is self-referential in that way where they do reference John Wick quite a bit. If you like John Wick but you want more violence, go watch it. The cinematography in that film is also absolutely beautiful. And for this being someone's directorial debut, holy crap, this dude is talented. And it should be no surprise. But the movie is super action-packed. It's got a great message in it. It's very character driven, and the villain that's played in that movie, which is like a sergeant with kind of looks like the Indian Joe Manganiello, as I would refer to him. He is absolutely, you know what? I don't want to do him no justice. I want to get him by name because he was also great in that film, and like I mentioned earlier, Sharlto Copley was in this movie as well, with his best South African accent when he talks like this, boot in yeah. Oh, he's crazy. There was a crazy motherfucker, Yeah, that's how he starts to talk in that movie. Sikandar Kher. Sikandar Kher, I think that's how you say his name. Also, absolutely great in that movie. And I just wanted to kind of put some shine on that because I think for a directorial debut, this is a masterclass of a movie. It's very action packed, visually super stimulating. Please, please, please go watch it in cinema. Do yourself that favor. Its pacing is also great. Man, I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. So definitely give it a try, right? And also The Crow, give it a try. Although The Crow does kind of give, like when I was dressed up as him, I thought, it was kind of a little bit of bondage feeling towards it, but give it a try. If you're still attached to your 1990s extreme goth era, go watch The Crow. And if you want basically a street level but in India John Wick, give Monkey Man a try. And then I also watched The Boy and the Heron, Studio Ghibli's own. I will say that film, I watched it subbed, not dubbed. I don't do dubbed, even though the dubbed had a great cast. I just had to watch it subbed because I can't do it any other way. I actually made my partner watch it with me, and it's the first anime she had ever watched in full, subbed. She actually enjoyed it, and she does not like anything that's not a girl movie or just the girl movie. So, if she enjoyed it, I think you'd enjoy it. I think visually it was great. It's a beautiful movie to watch. Story-wise, I think it's not bad, but Studio Ghibli does tend to have films where the story has so much metaphors in it, and there's so much to kind of digest. I think it kind of can sometimes be a little bit too much, and people maybe don't resonate with that too much. I don't know if it's something that gets lost in translation from their culture to ours, but if you enjoy Studio Ghibli, give it a try in cinema. It is just visually alone. If you want beautiful animation, give it a try. But if you're looking for a groundbreaking story, I would not give it a try. The story, even though the concepts are cool and the world building is great, I thought the story was kind of straightforward, as a lot of it was quite predictable. But definitely worth a visual watch if you are someone that enjoys animation. I would give it a try. But it's something that I would also give a try once it gets onto streaming. I would not necessarily run to cinema for it. Also watched Kung Fu Panda 4 recently in cinema. Would I give it a try in cinema? No. If you've got a kid and you need something to watch in the background or to keep them busy, I would say give it a try. The animation is beautiful. I love Jack Black. I think Awkwafina is absolutely great in it. The only problem I have with that film, and the villain is also super menacing and creepy, but I think the thing that bothered me is that it felt a bit too slapstick, and it felt like a film that is catering to an audience that does not know how to pay attention to something for more than 5 minutes at a time. It felt like they planted in a very cheap joke every few seconds to keep the kids' attention or just the audience's attention. And I think that just annoyed me a little bit, because I remember animations like the first Kung Fu Panda being a little bit more slow paced, whereas this just felt like, hey, look at me, pay attention to me. And it got on my nerve a little bit. And I know it's not meant for me, but I do think if you are making films or reviewing films, you need to critique the things that don't work as well. And I think that is something that didn't work for me. So I would not give it a try in cinema. I would say rather wait for it to come to streaming. And if it is something that you want to put on the background, or, if you want to entertain your kid, I think it would be great. Give it a try, because it would definitely keep their attention. Then some things that I think that I want to kind of shout out from the Cape Town Comic Con. I'm going to shout out 2 artists from whom I bought artworks for my apartment. Really great artwork, very unique. It's local artists, and I do like to support local, and this is something that I enjoyed about the Comic Con Cape Town, is that there's an entire section dedicated to local artists for them to present their artwork, which happens every year, and I really wanted to put a spotlight on that. And the 2 artists that I would like to shout out, that if you can, check them out, purchase some art from them, please support our local artists. And the one would be _rabbit bat, not rabbit, rabbit bat. So that's THE_RABIDBAT, the rabbit bat. Really, really good artwork that I got from her. And then also, I think it's the Oddie D. I just want to make sure I get this correct. Really stylized character work, which I really, really liked. Let me just quickly give it a search here on my phone. Oddie D. ODDI_DEE. So yeah, give them a look on Instagram. Follow their pages and purchase some art from them if you can, or request commissions. I believe they do both of that. And then lastly, I would like to just mention a YouTube channel that I discovered recently via Instagram, which is, if you're a fan of Pokemon and you want a quick laugh or something that you can put on and listen to just for shits and giggles, something that doesn't take itself too serious, I would say go check out Zane Games, ZANE Games on YouTube. He does this series with his friends where they basically over Discord or something play like a game that he sets up, which is kind of like Jeopardy, I think. I think Jeopardy is the game, where they do like a Pokemon quiz, but the answers are impossible to guess. So, for example, one of the categories would be emojis, and then it would be a crab and a bee, and then you would think the answer is crabby, but it's not. I just, look, give it a look. I really think it's great. I think he's hilarious. I think his friends are hilarious. It's a great series. He recently started it. He's still very, very small on his channel side, but I would definitely give it a look. And yeah, I think that's it from me. So thank you everybody for listening. Everybody being myself listening to this back, for listening and sticking around with me for my first ever episode. As I said, this might be choppy. It might be a bit awkward. It might not be as organized and constructed as well as I think most would, but hopefully I get better as I do this. I must say the talking part is the easy part. I think it's just keeping structure and feeling like you're saying something interesting enough is the difficult part, but hopefully we can get there. And yeah, so thank you everybody. And then on my socials, the podcast is available on Spotify and on YouTube. On Spotify, I believe it is just the TriPod. I just need to confirm that quickly, but I know on YouTube it is at the try. That's THETRI dash pod, POD. So I'll upload it there. And then if you're listening to it here on Spotify, I just need to quickly get what my @ is. Like I said, my Instagram has been disabled because of community guideline bullshit, which I still don't understand, because how, if I've just created it, have I already been deactivated because of some community guideline violation, which I barely know why. But you can also find me on Twitter, which, oh my gosh, let me just shout out my YouTube channel at the moment. My YouTube channel, I've got 2 YouTube channels. One is called Stanimation, which I do a few little animation stuff, which I'm hopefully going to be doing a lot more soon enough. Then I also have another YouTube channel called Stan, which is kind of where I would just do general stuff. It's where I usually wanted to do movie reviews, but right now I'm not there yet. But hopefully I will get back to doing that channel soon enough. This is just more of like a creative outlet for myself, just because I want to, if I'm being honest with you. On Twitter, you can find me at _ the TriPod, one word. So that's THETRIPOD. And the joke obviously being that it's pod, but it's also partially my name. So let me just quickly find my Spotify username, which, man, I really need to get my shit together. My Gmail, if you want to send anything on Gmail, maybe recommendations for films, or a review of a film that you think I should give a try, wink wink, you can get my email at, let me quickly check my Gmail. Damn, this is like, my shit is falling apart. It is the pod to the power of 3 at gmail.com. So that is all one word, the pod to the power of 3 at gmail.com, if you want to send everything over there. Also, if you absolutely hate this, please leave a comment down below. I don't, whether it's good or bad, just interact. One person listening to me. My account on Spotify is just the space TriPod, one word, which you can find on Spotify. As I said, everything else, like my logos and all that, is under construction, but hopefully all of that will come together soon enough. I would apologize if this was shit, but to be fair, I actually quite enjoyed this. I do enjoy just talking some shit. And hopefully this gets more and more interesting as we carry on. Thank you everybody for listening, and as I said, hopefully this gets better over time, and hopefully someone enjoys listening to me talk as much as I do enjoy listening to myself talk. But yeah, have a great week everyone, and I will see you or talk to you or myself next week. Cheers.